UMD Humphrey Fellows presentation by all journalists and media professionals, and in true media style, we are live tweeting the event. Anita Komuves is live tweeting. Anita, please stand up. We have our Twitter handle, which is Climate Triangle. Guys, please follow. This is one presentation where you can stare at your phone, and we don't mind it, we encourage it. So we are at Climate Triangle, hashtag Climate Triangle, hashtag GLF 2014. We also have Lily, who's our deputy coordinator, who's videoing and the entire presentation. And you will be lucky to be photographed by the award-winning journalist who's a photographer here, Meng from China. And just quickly before we can hit the presentation, can I request all our UMD Humphrey Fellows to stand up? They've put a tremendous amount of effort to make this presentation happen. Guys, please stand up. Thank you. And we also have Somsak and Noreen, who's going to be a part of the presentation. So when we actually came here, we all wanted to study different stuff. We wanted to study journalism. Some of you wanted to study urban planning. Some of you wanted to study law. But we were all told we had to talk about climate change, and we were like, what? Climate change? Really? We didn't come here to do that, but ultimately we are doing that, and it's a great thing. We are all, I think, the best minds in our respective fields, and we are all talking about climate change. But as journalists, it's our responsibility to talk to the common man. And we wanted to figure out whether these two words, climate change and resilience, really resonate with the common man on the streets, and do they really care? So we did this small video.
Natural disasters claim more lives. Where more people die of hunger. Do you care? Do you care? Do you care? Do you care?
Climate change is not too big a concern in Shanghai.
I know a little bit about climate change.
I'm not that familiar on the topic, but I definitely know that it's been talked about a lot in the news.
I think engaging in conversations is an initial step, because it's something that we're not having conversations on in our communities.
Well, of course, the role of the media is to inform people. If the people are not informed, they won't know exactly what's going on in our world. So it's their duty to inform the people the risk of the climate change.
The media should be blamed.
You might not get it on the network news every day, but if you're interested in climate change and find out what's going on and you're willing to seek around, you can find good reporting.
Okay, so the key question we really asked all of them is that, is the media really responsible? A lot of them believe that the media is responsible, and I'm sure a lot of you also think that way, that why don't we talk about climate change and urban planning, for example? Why don't we talk about climate change in agriculture, climate change and human rights laws that can protect the climate refugees? We also think that it is our job and also our duty to be informing people about climate change, and that is why we have put out this presentation where we are talking about the challenges of reporting climate change and empowering journalists to talk about climate change. You might think, why aren't these reporters actually going out? We are saying that you can go out and report about climate change, but the problem is that it might not be as difficult as reporting about war. That, you know, climate change isn't as difficult about reporting about war. But there are challenges, and a small little video by Humphrey Fellows from 11 countries actually shows the challenges. And from here on, Noreen will take the presentation to talk about the climate change challenges.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, my country, the situation about climate change is just different. People don't care about climate change. They care about food because they are starving. They care about water, they care about health and education. Even journalists don't speak too much about this problem.
Albania, we didn't have any headline. about climate change so far. If I will do that, probably some of my colleagues will laugh.
In Pakistan, I haven't seen any environmental journalist. So whenever there is a disaster, we see reactive journalism instead of proactive journalism.
In Hungary, editors always prefer stories about national politics to environmental stories. So if they have to choose between two front page stories, they will always go with the one about politics and never about climate change.
In 2008, Korean government proclaimed low carbon green growth as a new economic growth paradigm. It attracted media's attention. So last year, almost 13,000 news articles reported on climate change.
In Thailand, we have a big flood in the last 4 years. Many people had to move out from their home. I am one of them. The impact of climate change is already now, not next century.
I'm going to take over from here. My name is Noreen Zehra. I am a journalist from Pakistan. Related to the challenges, as Priyali, my colleague, told you, we prepared a set of questionnaire and we sent it out to the 11 countries from where all our fellows are participating from. And this is a kind of a consensus on which journalists from all of these countries agree that they are facing problems in reporting environment and climate change. The first issue that they faced was lack of interest from the media organizations. We spoke to Nene Mandalia in the Democratic Republic of Congo. She works for the National Broadcasting. And she told us that when there are a selection of stories and content on news and information related stuff on the television, the advertisers are more interested in colorful content and entertainment related content rather than hardcore stories about environment. So they face a lot of resistance from their editors to put such content on air. The second problem that we faced is the economic crisis of the entire media industry. I think all over the world people are facing that, journalists are facing that. Behind that you can see there's a quote from this environmental journalist from India. She is one of those journalists from CNN-IBN who was fired. And she was fired on the grounds of the fact that her organization could not make enough money to pay for environmental reporting. When we asked her what were the reasons behind it, she told us that they said that their organization believed that for environmental reporting, they do not need a journalist or a separate department. There is no expertise involved with that. So they fired her. The third challenge that all the journalists agreed on was lack of training for journalists, and in fact this is actually related to lack of informed reporting. Reporting on environment is not very easy, especially when we talk about climate change. There is a lot of scientific information and dense technical stuff that is associated with it. So reporters and editors need to understand what they are reporting about. This is a quote from the editor of Skip newspaper in Albania, and he also stressed on the importance of training, lack of training institutions and a platform for training. So it would be better if editors and reporters out in the field, they are on the same page while they are being trained. Climate change, we discovered that media organizations believe that it's more of an NGO-driven agenda rather than it suits the interest of the organizations. They believe that NGOs want to push it, and probably they kind of do not believe in the fact that it's going to impact the general masses as soon as it's coming. This journalist is from my country, Pakistan, Amar Guriro. He works for this organization which is training environmental journalists in Pakistan, National Council of Environmental Journalists. You can see clips from his stories. Amar told me that most of the polluters in Pakistan are basically very important people. They are business elite or political elite. And he quoted one of the stories that he worked on back in 2008, when in the city where I come from, Karachi, they planted some trees in order to make the city cope better with the impact of climate change. And because of lack of information, the city government ended up planting only one species of the trees rather than the 10 species they had to plant. So Amar was the only journalist, because he was an independent journalist, who reported on that story, and nobody picked up the story because they were too scared to pick up a fight with the most influential political party on the provincial level. So these are the kind of challenges that they are facing. Lack of access of information, this is a problem in countries like Mexico and China, where government is not open enough to share information which is related to climate change stories. I will give you the example of the 2009 drought in China. It was a widespread speculation that the drought happened because of the creation of dams in China. And everybody on an informal level was talking about it. But the journalists could not establish a link between the creation of dams and the drought, because the government was not willing to share information with the reporters. So I think from here onwards, Priyali is going to take over.
Well, these are voices from 11 countries, but these are reflective of the global problem, the challenges that the media faces in reporting climate change. And if you're thinking the US is immune to it, it is not. The NPR recently fired its environment reporters. They just have one reporter who's doing environment, and that too on a part-time basis. CNN in 2008 completely dissolved their environment team. I think they're now slowly realizing the importance of climate change, and that too because the government is talking about climate change here in the US, which is why CNN is, I think, coming up with another environment team. So what we are trying to say is that it's not possible to do this without the support of the government, and a positive example of this is South Korea. What South Korea did is, you can see in 2007, on the slide, 2007 there was about 6,000 newspaper headlines reporting climate change, but that was increased to 15,000 and more in 2008. Now why did that change happen? That change happened because there was a new government in South Korea in 2008 which supported and said that green is the way to go, and they supported climate change, and that is why the media could report more about it. So I think that is one thing that the media would definitely want supporters from the government. So we've presented the challenges. You might be thinking, what is really the solution to this? Through all our research, by talking to environmentalists, environmental journalists, we have come out with the first step of a solution. We are not saying that it is a solution. I think it is too early to suggest a solution, but we are saying it is the first step to solution. What we are calling the solution, the first step to the solution, is Climate Triangle. We are proposing a digital platform which is called the Climate Triangle, through which we will try to empower journalists to report on environment issues. Why we call it a Climate Triangle? Because it talks about 3 important issues and challenges that the journalists face. Raising funds. If you're a journalist and you want to report about an issue, about a story, you have to travel to the place. You have to talk to the people. And you need funds to do that. You can't be sitting at your desk and reporting about a place. Who's going to give you the funds if your editors, if your media organizations don't support that? So what our platform is going to offer is a list of organizations which are ready to give a grant to environmental journalists to support and raise funds. Second, connect. You have to connect with each other. You have to connect with other journalists who believe in these issues. You have to connect with experts like you who are talking about urban planning, experts like you who talk about environmental law. So we want all of you to be a part of something like this and connect with people, connect with journalists, be part of the expert process, because journalists face difficulties in getting expert comments. So that is connect. Now you've got your story, you've gone out and shot the story, you've got your experts, you've connected with people, but what do you do with the story? You need a platform to publish the story. Your media organization is saying, sorry, but environment is not something we want to talk about. We want to talk just about poverty, we want to talk about terrorism, because these are the more pressing demands of the world and not climate change. So what we are saying is that we will offer a list of organizations, print, digital, television, radio, which will be willing to give a platform to the journalists to put forward their story. That's what Raise Funds, Connect, Publish and Climate Triangle is all about. And also we will have discussion forums where people can talk and exchange ideas on climate change. So all Humphrey Fellows of 2014, 2015, all alumni can be a part of this and discuss the climate change issues in their country. Why we keep this open-ended? is because we are open to solutions. We don't believe we are the best, we don't believe we are perfect, and we are open to suggestions from all of you. And usually journalists ask the questions, but we'll throw the questions and the house open. You guys can ask us the questions this time.